Why are CEOs making 351 times more money than the average worker? In 2021, this jaw-dropping disparity made headlines and stirred public outrage, especially as the wealth gap widened during the pandemic. With the top 1% amassing fortunes while many struggled, it raises a critical question. How did we reach this point? To understand this phenomenon, we need to explore the historical, economic, and strategic factors that have led to such a stark difference in earnings. So without any further delay, let's get started. The roots of wage disparity. The disparity in wages between CEOs and average workers traces back to the economic policies of the 1980s, notably neoliberalism championed by leaders like President Ronald Reagan in the USA and Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher in the UK. Neoliberalism promoted free market capitalism, emphasizing deregulation, privatization, and reduced government intervention in the economy. While these policies aim to stimulate economic growth and efficiency, they also weakened the bargaining power of labor unions and contributed to income inequality. Under neoliberal principles, CEOs gained significant leverage in negotiating compensation, which increasingly tied their pay to company performance and shareholder value. This shift marked a departure from earlier decades when executive pay was more modestly aligned with broader economic trends. As globalization accelerated and technology reshaped industries, CEO compensation became increasingly benchmarked against global standards, perpetuating the widening gap between executive salaries and those of ordinary workers. The birth of modern CEO compensation. Modern CEO compensation emerged from the neoliberal economic policies of the 1980s, which promoted a market-oriented approach to governance. Leaders like President Ronald Reagan and Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher advocated for deregulation and privatization, shifting power dynamics in favor of corporations. This era saw the introduction of performance-based pay structures for CEOs, blending fixed salaries with substantial bonuses and stock options. Compensation committees composed of executives and board members began benchmarking CEO salaries against peers in similar roles, aiming to attract and retain top talent in a competitive global market. This approach tied CEO pay directly to company performance, aligning their incentives with shareholders' interests. As corporate profits soared and executive responsibilities expanded, so did CEO compensation, cementing a trend of exponentially higher earnings compared to the average worker. This evolution reflects a broader trend where corporate governance increasingly rewards executives for maximizing shareholder value, albeit at the cost of exacerbating income inequality. The layers of CEO incentives. CEO compensation is structured around multiple layers of incentives designed to align their interests with those of shareholders and promote long-term company success. These incentives typically include short-term, medium-term, and long-term components. Short-term incentives often take the form of annual cash bonuses, directly tied to achieving specific performance metrics like revenue growth, profit margins, or operational targets. These bonuses provide immediate rewards for meeting short-term goals and are intended to motivate CEOs to drive immediate results. Medium-term incentives focus on the CEO's ability to deliver on strategic objectives over a span of several years. These incentives may include performance shares or restricted stock units that vest over time based on sustained company performance and achieving predetermined strategic milestones. They encourage CEOs to implement and execute long-term strategies that enhance shareholder value and ensure organizational stability. Long-term incentives, such as stock options or performance-linked equity grants, are typically awarded with a longer vesting period, often spanning several years. These incentives tie the CEO's financial gains directly to the company's stock price performance, encouraging decisions that maximize long-term shareholder returns. By aligning CEO compensation with company performance and shareholder interests across these multiple layers, organizations aim to attract and retain top executive talent while fostering sustained growth and profitability. The prisoner's dilemma in CEO pay. The concept of the prisoner's dilemma applies intriguingly to CEO pay structures within corporations. In this game theory scenario, two companies face a dilemma: whether to reduce CEO compensation to a more moderate level or maintain high salaries to attract and retain top executive talent. If one company reduces CEO pay while the other maintains high compensation, the former risks losing valuable talent to the latter, potentially weakening its competitive position. As a result, both companies often opt to maintain or increase CEO salaries, fearing the consequences of being the first to lower compensation. This dilemma perpetuates the cycle of escalating CEO pay across industries, even when it may not directly correlate with enhanced company performance or shareholder value. The fear of losing out on top executive talent drives compensation committees to benchmark CEO salaries against industry peers, reinforcing high pay norms and contributing to income inequality within the corporate sector. Addressing this dilemma requires systemic changes in corporate governance and societal expectations regarding executive compensation and its alignment with long-term organizational sustainability. The future of CEO compensation. The landscape of CEO compensation is poised for potential transformation amid increasing scrutiny and evolving societal norms. While current practices heavily emphasize performance-based incentives and stock options, future trends may see a shift towards greater transparency and accountability. Regulatory measures like San Francisco's Proposition L, which imposes additional taxes on companies with wide CEO-worker pay gaps, signal a growing public demand for fairer wealth distribution within organizations. Moreover, there is a rising call for CEOs to prioritize broader stakeholder interests beyond just shareholders, including employees, customers, and communities. This shift could influence compensation structures to incorporate metrics that measure social and environmental impact alongside financial performance. Such changes would not only reflect a more balanced approach to corporate governance, but also align executive incentives with sustainable long-term growth and societal benefit. As companies navigate these complexities, adapting to changing expectations and regulatory environments will be crucial in shaping the future of CEO compensation. Leaders who can navigate these changes while delivering value across multiple dimensions will likely define the next era of executive compensation practices. The misunderstanding of CEO value. Critics often overlook the broader impact and value that effective CEOs bring to companies and society. Take Elon Musk, for example. Despite controversies, Musk's ventures like Tesla and SpaceX have revolutionized electric vehicles and space exploration, respectively. Tesla's market capitalization soared under his leadership, demonstrating substantial shareholder value creation. Effective CEOs not only steer companies towards profitability, but also drive innovation, create jobs, and stimulate economic growth. They make critical decisions that shape corporate strategy, navigate complex global markets, and pioneer disruptive technologies that benefit society at large. Moreover, CEOs like Tim Cook of Apple have overseen significant expansions in product lines, global markets, and sustainability initiatives. These achievements illustrate how CEO leadership can transform companies into global industry leaders while fostering a culture of innovation and corporate responsibility. Critically assessing CEO value requires understanding their strategic vision, leadership acumen, and ability to navigate challenges while delivering sustainable long-term growth. As such, effective CEO compensation should reflect these contributions and align with creating enduring value for stakeholders, not just short-term financial metrics. The debate over CEO compensation underscores deep-seated economic and social issues. While critics decry the vast earnings gap, defenders argue that CEOs drive immense value and innovation. As society navigates these complexities, regulatory measures like Proposition L in San Francisco reflect growing efforts to address income inequality. Whether this trend continues or evolves, the impact of CEOs on global economics remains profound. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on CEO pay. Do you think it's justified or is it time for a change? Thanks for watching and see you next time.